Have you ever thought about hiring an intern or getting free labor through an intern from a community college or a university? If you've never thought about it, but now you're wondering, should I think about it? Or if you, yes, have thought about it, but wondered, are you in the right position? Are you ready to hire an intern? This is your episode. Tune in. Hey, I'm Deborah Atkinson, and you're listening to She Means Fitness Business. This is a division of my overarching business, Voice for Fitness. And at Voice for Fitness, we all believe that you deserve to make revenue that you determine is your level of success by working with ideal clients that you love every day. And look, the problem often is a lack of traffic. Not enough new clients, or you're not charging enough and you don't know quite how to make those offers. And listen, I get it. I had been coaching marketing and sales for 30 years, and then I quit. I quit everything, safety and security, at 49 and started over. So I had to put to the test everything I'd been teaching. And I went from 0 to 6-figure months. And there were a lot of years in between that didn't make 6-figure years. But if I can do it, you can do it. And here's how I help. We have you book a call. We start attracting clients together that you love working with. We make sure that you're keeping the profit and maintaining and preserving your time so you have freedom to enjoy it. Before we do all that, what I'd love you to do is to go download the Business Assessment Scorecard. You can do this in 2 minutes by yourself, and it will immediately highlight for you where you might have gaps or holes in your business that are holding you back, and help you determine, in the limited time and energy that you have, where you should spend it first for the most benefit. You can get that at fitnessmarketingmastery.com/scorecard. All right, let's dive in. This episode is all about interns, hiring them, attracting them, writing a description, how you know if you really are ready, and what ideal mindset you'll have before hiring your internship. So we do this twofold, and we do this very informally. My intern for the summer of 2024 started yesterday as we recorded this podcast episode. And so I asked her, let's do this. Let's just be transparent. What did you want? How does it work when you're picking an internship? What about the description appealed to you? And then I talked about what I was looking for in an intern, what I wanted, what I was hoping, what I hope at the end of this happens. And I hope, most of all, that it will help you. Hope, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Well, actually, she's obligated to be here, everybody. So there's that. But we're here. We're doing something very different today. So I alluded to this in the intro so that you know, this is just unrehearsed. We really talked about the fact we should go on and do this. You've heard me, if you've been here for a minute or you've gone into the archives, I've done episodes before about hiring an intern and what that would be like, and that's an opportunity either for you, if you don't have much experience, to actually be the intern, getting experience that you want at any age. You don't have to be in college to do that or have to be required to use those credits to do this, but you could also begin opening up and looking at what would it be like for me to maybe expand my leadership skills by bringing somebody in. It will force you to get organized, and it will force you to look at the places where you're not in doing this. So we're going to do something very different, and I'm going to ask Hope to introduce herself and her history with Iowa State University, which is selfishly, I reached out because it's a little bit like going home for me. So many of you know I went to my undergrad and a grad school and then taught at Iowa State. So for the very longest time, and I've been on that campus since I was a little girl, 7, feeding the swans. That was my thing when I went there with my mom. So Hope, introduce yourself and let everybody know who you are.
Well, I'm Hope Ogg. I attended Iowa State. I've been here since 2021. I just recently finished in my studies in kinesiology, exercise science. I have always been very active, love sports, love being active and everything like that. But when it came from graduating high school and transitioning into college, I didn't want to continue really pursuing sports, and I kind of wanted to focus on my schooling a little bit more. But I also still wanted to stay very active and still in the realm of like the sports life, active life.
Very cool. So tell me this, because I'm not even sure I know this. Did you grow up in Iowa? Are you an Iowa girl
Yeah, I'm
or
an
where are you from?
Iowa
Yeah.
native. I'm from a very small town in southwest Iowa. So I had about 30 kids in my graduating class.
Wow. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Okay. So well, I won't say most, but an awful lot of people from Iowa can proceed where they're from with, I'm from a very small town in blah, blah, blah. Right. So mine was Northeast Iowa. So I had 42. So I'm like big
Just a few
compared to you.
more. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But I think we probably get each other.
hmm
Very cool. So prior to that, like, did you ever think when you were little, like elementary school, what did you want to do when you were, a grown up?
For a long time. It sounds very polar opposite and wild. I thought I wanted to be an interior designer. And I don't know where that came from. I think I just liked like decorating things in the house. When I was little, I always played school, so I'm surprised that I didn't want to be like an elementary teacher or anything like that. But for quite a while, I thought I was going to be an interior designer, but that never worked out. Cards never played right.
Well, I'm just looking at your room here, and you need to get a few things on the wall if that's
I
going to
know.
pan out at all. Okay. So let me ask you this. So at Iowa State University, and by the way, listeners, every university, community college, depending on what it is, every requirement is slightly different. So some majors are required to do an internship prior to graduation. Others are not. Very interestingly, I was I was an exercise science major. However, I minored in dance. And for whatever reason, I fell into a loophole and they did not require me to do an internship. And I've always regretted it because I think I would have learned what I actually had to learn in that first 9 months on the job while I was
hmm
at my internship. And it might have spared me just a little time. Now, who knows? Maybe I needed to go through those things to get where I am right now. But I never had to. And I always thought kind of lucky, like I slipped through in not having to. But looking back, I kind of wish someone would have held me to that. So at Iowa State, you are required, correct, to do an
Yes.
internship. And
Yep.
so talk about the parameters, like how long, how many credits, how many hours, how does that pan out?
So we actually take a class like the semester before going into our internships. Deborah Powers leads that. She's awesome. She's amazing. She will hold your hand through everything and give you all the details, all the nitty gritty of everything you need to know. Um, but basically, it's your last like semester kind of classes, and so it pans anywhere from like 8 to 12 credits, and then your hours are just based off of that. So like for mine is 10 credits is what I needed to finish with for it. And so then we take that times the 10 credits times our hours and everything like that. So like I have to have like 300 hours in the span of 10 weeks that I'm with you. So normally they range from 10 to 12 weeks in parameters. So yeah,
So
you have
about
to
thirty
meet.
30 hours a week, right?
Yep.
Yep. Cool.
Yeah. You have to meet prereqs from our classes that we have to take before you're even allowed to get an internship, basically. And then just basic process of that kind of. We'll probably go into more detail about that here in a little bit.
Great. Okay. So talk about your choices. How does that, I mean, are you just turned loose? Like you can go and find your internship experience anywhere? You start looking at a specific list or directory? How does that work?
So Deb does a great job with that
This
as
is not
well.
confusing at all for listeners, right? Deb and
Yeah,
Deb.
Deb
But
Towers.
listeners, please listen to this. I taught with this woman and we co-taught courses. So can you imagine Deb and Deb? So I was little Deb, she was big Deb because she's taller. Yeah, that's how it went. All right, go ahead.
She's like I said, she's amazing. She sends out a lot of opportunities to all of her students in the semesters going into their internship. Um, gives us all of our details, and then she also gives us the opportunity to explore on our own. So that was awesome. I did take the opportunity to look at a lot of my own kind of like places. But I have already been kind of like in the realm. I coach for a strength and conditioning facility here in Iowa. So I kind of wanted to do something a little different, get my put like all my traits in different little boxes, explore my horizon and everything so I could figure out kind of what I ultimately want to do in the future.
Awesome. And do you have any suspicions? Like if you fast forward and think, okay, 3 years from now, I'm waking up and I'm in my dream job. What do you think that is?
I really want to do more of like helping people personally, like being able to be their one-on-one help. But I also want to keep exploring just like all the new information that we're continuously learning about fitness and everything. And it's just crazy to me to think I want to work with either individuals or smaller groups. It's crazy to me to think to see like the high schoolers or even incoming like college players in any sport or anything like that. Just the difference like over the past half a decade has made just in our training and how much more advanced they are now and how quick they adapt to things in their bodies and everything like that, and how we can manipulate just small little things and it'll boost their improvements and their power, their strength, everything like so much.
So awesome. So, what about some of your friends, like some of the peers in your class? What kind of internships are they doing? Just to give everybody maybe a little background of what else would there be out there?
Yeah, so some of them are working in more clinical hospital kind of
Mm.
settings, working with rehabilitation. Um, I know a few that are doing the strength and conditioning route. I have one friend, he's actually at the academy in Florida. He got accepted into there. I worked alongside him. He coached with me here in Iowa at our strength and conditioning, and he had went through a whole process with them. He kind of, it was a crazy story, and then he got accepted in and they just called him one day and he was like, there's no way this is happening. But it's super cool to like watch people like in each of their steps, even if they're different, like everyone has been so successful in their like learnings and their findings and stuff. So
So when you look back, and it's harder probably for you to have a little perspective on this, but I can look back and I remember, gosh, I was still teaching and it was maybe halfway through the 15 years that I did. And the department was exploding. It was like 700% growth. And then the next year was like 800% more growth. And it was like, we're running out of space, like in this building. And so now, as you know it, I mean, a lot of
mhm.
classes are not even held in that building, right? Because the
No,
classrooms are so small. But
small.
what do you think when you think about competition or other people who might be vying for the same job or for working with the same kind of people? Do you think about that at all?
Yeah, I do. I think Iowa State gives us like a great opportunity. If it's not Deb reaching out to us, there's actually another lady here named Deb, and she also sends out a lot of opportunities to us just continuously. Like A lot of people are just known from their like fitness standpoints coming from Iowa State. Um, my boss from the facility that I worked at and coach out of now, he actually played football at Iowa State and he was really known here. And so it's just like once you make those small connections, it's crazy to see that they all connect back to like Iowa State at some point, or knowing someone from Iowa State, learning from someone there, getting information. So it's really nice having the opportunities that I have here.
So cool. So this is a unique opportunity, and maybe other students are doing something like this too, but we're obviously a digital business. And, probably if Deb and I had talked about this, even touched base with this 5 or 6 years ago, it might not have been such an open door, but the pandemic changed everything for everybody. And so now so many students are working digitally, or that's an option for them. And so it's opened a door for not only for you to have this experience, but for me, and for other online business women, men to also open and invite interns to come in. The supervision is a little bit different. And I think different, but often I think also better. So if you're the kind of student drawn to it, the work still has to be done. You'll still be showing the work. And yet you also have the freedom and the flexibility, which means there's the time management piece in it, right? But you have the freedom and the flexibility to work when you work best, as opposed
Hmm.
to simply going and putting time in, which if anybody listening can think back and maybe you were an intern or you were a part-time individual working at a health club, and there's a lot of times slinging towels and, walking around cleaning equipment that is not quite
Yeah.
so fun, right? You're basically filling hours where, how much
Hmm.
experience are you really getting? So are there more digital experiences, Hope, that are out there that I'm looking at your name on the bar below? That's why I said that. But are there other digital experiences that are out there? I mean, is that a growing area where people can explore?
Yeah, I didn't find too many just personally researching and stuff like that. Yours was one of the main ones that was an online based one.
Hmm.
But I think that the realm of social media and fitness has become such a big thing. It's you see
Hmm.
influencers post every day. You see
Hmm.
there's like, even if you don't think about it, as you're scrolling through Facebook, Instagram, any other platform, you're constantly seeing some type of person that will come across your screen, and there's going to be something about either nutrition, health,
Hmm.
fitness, training. There's going to be something, and I think that it has become a big thing. I see a lot more people exercising because of it, especially it like the older population. Has been a big thing. I go to gyms now, and I see them there lifting, and I think to myself, well, why can't these college students take time out of their day to do it when we got these ones coming in their jeans to get a quick walk in? Like they they are here putting in the work. They're trying to better themselves, and I think um, we used to make it so complicated, exercise so complicated and sound hard. Um,
Hmm.
but with our knowledge now that we've learned, you can take 15-20 minutes out of your day, do a simple thing. You do great with, I've seen your videos of just your quick little 15-minute workouts. And I did it one day while I was watching it, and I was like, wow, I don't think I have felt more like refreshed, but like energized and everything, and felt like I got something done productive. It doesn't need to be 2 hours in the gym, so
Yeah.
just anything. And I think that any social media or anything like that has become a big part because people can follow
That was such a good line. So, of all the things today, that was the mic drop. We've made it so hard,
it.
right?
Yeah.
And, knowing that you see that, I think, I mean, that's huge, because often I think that is part of why we're still at a place where the statistic for women, all women, only 20% lift weights more than twice or 2 or more times a week, which is, muscle, which is for brain health. It's for blood sugar
Yeah.
control, for energy, for mood stabilization, better sleep, the bone density that will be necessary later. And we're just not doing it. And
Yeah.
we've just made it so hard or complicated. And we've told everybody, pain is weakness leaving the body, as
Hmm.
if it will hurt, right? It's going to hurt you to
Yeah.
do this,
Yeah, exactly.
but it's going to be worth it. Yeah. But there's that.
Yeah.
Okay. So let me flip and then hope you can play interviewer if you want to, so you
Okay.
can interject. So from my standpoint, so everybody listening, if you're a health coach, you're a trainer, and you're working for yourself, you do have to establish. So I've been a little bit of the other Deb in supervising internships, and have not been the gatekeeper, which is really, Deb is playing both hats in this case. And you've got to be established enough, that you can prove there's a concept, it's a proven concept, you're helping X amount of people, you have something that you can train and give of value to the intern. So this is not just free labor. In other words, you have to have a stake in it for them as well. And it's in one part, it's a give back, I think. But I also think of it as selfishly, I think it makes me a better leader to realize, I'm going to have to walk her through. She started already, day 2 she's on, but yesterday she started on one of our programs with the idea that this is probably going to be painful for me, because I've asked her to, point out the errors, point out the things that are confusing in the communications with you about this course and getting started. And or is there something that I'm relaying in the content itself that is confusing? So she's going to be doing that for me, giving some insight. And as a leader, I've got to be able to pick the tasks that I know she'll benefit from if she goes through, but also I'll benefit from.
I was
And
just gonna say,
yeah.
yeah, I think that's really beneficial on your side too, because it's an outsider point of view. It's not someone that you
Yeah.
work with on uh like you've been working with for years now. So it's
Hmm.
fresh eyes coming in.
Hmm.
They're gonna tell
Absolutely.
you, um, especially in my young age, kind of like, we are picky about what we see on the internet. And if it's
Hmm.
something that we're like, that doesn't sit right with me, then we may
Hmm.
not follow it. So I think it's awesome that like you are open to wanting to find someone that's going to be like, okay, well, maybe this needs to be a little bit different so then we can catch the eyes, we can keep people engaged. So it's going to be amazing for your business and everything that you offer for people too.
So awesome. See? So, and this is really, I think, what you want. So, I apologize to everybody out there who's looking for an intern who's trying to land one, because I got the best. You can already tell, right? So she's already taken. You can have anybody you want except for her. So there's that. But I think it's got to be you a little bit of a legacy, right? So you get to
Yeah.
a point, and you can't just take, you've got to give. Like, you want them to have a great experience. You care about, what do they want to learn about? What do you want to leave with? What skill set do you want to leave with? And no matter what, they're going to learn something. I mean, I think I supervised interns, and I think I started doing it right away the first year. So from, 15 years, 2 semesters and summers in most cases, that's a lot of interns. And not every one of them had a great experience, but I guarantee you every one of them learned something.
Yeah.
Right. And sometimes, unfortunately, they learned, this isn't what I want to do, but maybe that lesson came harshly and falsely, because they didn't have a great experience and carry that over to everything. But you have an opportunity to, open the door and show them what's possible and show them what you've done. So you do have to be established. You have to have some concept, that you've got some methodology, some systems that lend themselves to there's enough for someone to do, and that you will make time to oversee them, to communicate with them on a regular basis. So it is different, in that you're not walking by, in the hallway. You can't just pull somebody into the office and let's have a meeting. But then again, you can, message at any point. You can, use one of our lines of communication for those of you out there using Slack, right? And kind of on our team, if it's a task or it's a to do, it goes into base camp. That's where, things that need to be done, or I need it to do. I don't know quite how to do it, but I know it's either Jonathan's or Anthony's. And I'm going to put a task in there and say, we need to work on this. Here's what I need to happen at the end, at least. I don't know what happens in the middle. Can you figure that out and tell me what we need to do? That's a to do. But if it's an ask, like it's a quick question in order to move me forward today or to check in, that goes in Slack. So beginning of the day or the end of the day for Hope, she can post in there and say, here's what I'm working on today, or, made a little progress on, working on the Boulder retreat, for instance, those of you who will be with me in June. So Hope will have had a finger in some of that, and maybe you can blame her for the hors d'oeuvres, or for the horseback riding or whatever it
I'll
might
do
be.
my best.
So, we can communicate in ways that aren't possible. So for every disadvantage, there's an advantage. And it'd be awesome for me to see her in person, but it's not always necessary. And I find that it's a lot like coaching used to be. I used to coach entirely by phone. This was before Zoom was like a household word. And when you're on the telephone with someone, you don't have well, I have green on and she doesn't like the color green. She already has a negative opinion of me, right? And that's totally removed. So you hear what people say. You're also hearing kind of what they're not saying, and your other skills sharpen. And that's true here. We can share documents, we can share projects, via Google Docs and see progress, communicate in ways that otherwise we can't. And you have to know yourself as a leader, and you also want to know the intern wants to know his or herself, and you want to know them too. Like anyone else, how do they learn best? How much communication do they want or love? So if I'm naturally more of an introvert, even though I can be a good leader and a good speaker on stage, and I know that someone else is really a collaborator and all about team and needs more interaction, you've got to balance that. So there are a lot of things to consider before considering, bringing in an intern. How much time do you have to dedicate? How much are you willing to relinquish? Because there is some trust factor. You've got to give them access to some of your content. And you can, of course, just like you would be hiring, say, a contractor, you can have them sign an NDA, so that everything they do is confidential. They'll see it and they can't share it. And there are things you can do to protect yourself, but I think you want to think all through who are you? Who are you hiring and attracting? Write a job description that identifies that key person and what it is that they want to do, and then explore, different ways. This was not something that came up, that we said, oh, we're going to do this. Well, this was something that came up yesterday, and talking about, instead of just me sharing, here's how interns could be an asset to you. Now we're really doing it. So this is the before, right? So in 10 weeks, we'll do another one, and talk about, what's been the biggest learning piece. What kinds of things are you taking away with you? Those questions will go to Hope, and for me as well. And there'll probably be a different set of skills and things that we're learning. So one of the things that Hope told me in coming in, we explored this, and this has been probably, 8 weeks or so ago when we first started talking, but we were talking about like potentially building a social media following, right? And being, an influencer. And so in my heart of heart, here's what I'd want. I'd want Hope to be positioned as an expert who also happens to be an influencer, as opposed to an influencer first who,
And then an expert learns.
Yeah, exactly.
After the fact.
Yeah. So stay tuned to that, because we'll be kind of working with her on starting to lay out who's she really talking to, who's her target market, just like you would, just like you should on a daily basis before you post anything. And what's our strategy? So right now, she may not have any strategy because she doesn't have anything yet to sell. She's not quite sure what that would look like and what she wants, but everything she does could be research. So she's looking at what resonates with people, what do they like and engage with, and so that she can keep doing more of that. And ultimately, she'll be letting those people tell her, like, what are people really hungry for? What do they
What
need
they
more
want to
of?
see. Yeah.
Exactly. Yes. And what might they be willing also to pay for? If she had a service, whether it were in person and you're local. So say you right now have a, in-person Pilates studio, and in your basement or downtown USA, wherever that might be, people want to look for you online to know you're a legit business right now. Isn't that very
Yeah.
interesting? Even if you're a business across the street, they're probably going to go to your website first.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So looking at that, super important. Hope, what did we miss? What do you think we missed? Is there anything else we need to tell them from your
Oh
side as a
gosh.
student looking for an internship, or from my side? What would be attractive? What was attractive about the job description for you?
I think the most attractive thing was just really reading into like what you have, like what you're trying to get people to see. So for me, it was just being a woman myself, not knowing that much about it. Like you have talked about many times before, a lot of people don't know what it's like. They don't talk about what menopause is going to be like. No one's
Mm-hmm.
really taught. Like maybe there's some moms around that'll be like, okay, you go through this, but like no one really talks about it. They think it's like a hidden thing that some people go through. But no, it's something that everyone's going to experience and stuff like that. And I don't think it's just that aspect of it too, but I think it's in all women think that their lives have to be lifting so hard or lifting so heavy. But just watching some of the things that I found now, it's you don't have to do excessive amounts of things. It's actually better to do less as a woman. Like 5 sets of 5 to 8 reps, like stuff like that, where like I had said earlier, we make it harder than it needs to be. And it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
need to be like that. It doesn't need to scare people away. So, seeing that as a job description, if you're out there looking for an internship, be picky. That is one thing I will say. Because if you're not picky, you might put yourself in a position where Deb had said, where you don't get the most out of an internship. And that's also okay. That's a learning experience. You found out what you did and
Mm-hmm.
didn't like, and you can move on from there forward. For me, I had already done the in-person coaching kind of thing. And so I knew in myself, I wanted to take the next step and see moving in the direction of somewhere where I wanted to go, where it was being that person who had the knowledge, they're taking the knowledge and then putting it into social media. Like Deb said, not the reverse of that, wanting to be an influencer and then knowing the information, but knowing the information and then going forward with it.
So good. Okay. So you've heard it. She had a couple mic drops today. So that's like first episode. And there she goes and does that. So the other thing we have to know is that she has access to, and get this, everybody, this is going to make you want to go back to college, because it did me. Like, they now have a podcasting studio on campus. And I'm like,
Yes.
have you seen this? And she's like, no. I'm like, that's an assignment. You have to go this week.
Yeah, I'm going this week. I might have to start my own podcast there. You might have to
I know.
influence me into that.
We can totally do that too. And
Yeah.
potentially, yeah, you'd be great at it. Awesome. Okay. So there you have it, everybody. So you've heard from Hopog. She's my intern from Iowa State University this summer of 2024. She'll be here for 10 weeks and she'll be helping. So if something happens behind the scenes, or I'm on a live on Facebook and doing a Q&A, or I'm doing a presentation in our membership, Hope may be on as well behind the scenes, kind of helping to run things, and or she will be in charge of recipes. You never know when she's going to pop up this next couple of months. But you also heard from me and my standpoint of why you might want to when you know you're ready, and prepping a job description. We all know you can use chat, GPT, to help
Yes.
you write a description, but I would highly recommend you write a rough draft first and then go put it in and say, will you polish this for an intern at a university or at a community college, depending. And you can decide if this is a paid internship or an unpaid internship. And I will be totally transparent with this as well. So from the beginning, I told Hope that, if I was going to have her do something that I would be hiring part-time help otherwise to do, like a contractor, that I would pay her for that. So not everything she does is necessarily going to be paid, but certain hours, definitely, if she's doing something. And then when she's done with her internship, she'll have the option of maintaining that if she wants to, and that works with whatever else she might be doing. Which is another asset. There are a lot of students over time who end up doing internships and then end up being hired and stay on. So that's always an option. It doesn't always work out that way. Somebody wants to get the experience and then may decide to move on. So you can't hold on to that idea, but it's certainly there. And you will certainly learn a great deal about your business by having somebody else looking over your shoulder, so to speak. So we will be back and tune you in to the part 2 of hiring an intern. All right, everybody. If you've got questions or if this was beneficial, make sure you let us know. You can find this at the show notes at fitnessmarketingmastery.com/hiring interns.